Firm XYZ produces and sells corn in a perfectly competitive market, and hires its workers in a perfectly competitive labor market. Which of the following best describes the demand curve for XYZ's corn and XYZ's demand curve for labor? So in this question, we're told that the firm called XYZ produces and sells corn in a perfectly competitive market, and the same thing for its workers in a perfectly competitive labor market. And we're told to describe the demand curve for XYZ's corn and the demand curve for labor. So in this case, we can draw out two graphs to represent their labor and demand for corn. So this is the firm's demand for corn. So let's call this corn, and this we'll label this as price, this by quantity, and now let's label the different parts. Because this is a perfectly competitive market and this is a firm graph, the demand for corn is not a stable part. We're going to call this D equals MR equals average revenue, and this also equals price. And now the supply, it would be an upward sloping curve because as the quantity of the price of the good increases, the firm would want to supply more of that good. And they would produce at this point here. So we can clearly see that demand for corn is a horizontal line. And based on this, we can eliminate the answer choices D and E because they say demand for corn is downward sloping, which it is not. It's a horizontal line. Now, to find out the labor demand, we can draw another graph that would represent the labor. And this would be another graph, but this would be wages by quantity. This would be supply, and this would be demand. This would look like this because in a perfectly competitive labor market, as the wages of the firms decrease, less people would want to work there. Now, in this case, the demand curve is downward sloping. Therefore, the labor demand curve must also be downward sloping. And looking at the answer choices, we can clearly see that option choice B shows a horizontal demand curve for corn and a downward sloping demand curve for labor demand. So B is the correct answer.